There's a lake where people see reflections of strangers standing right behind them, even when they're completely alone. And one of those reflections once moved first. I'll show you that part at the end. This is Hollow Creek Lake. On the surface, it's calm, shallow, and surrounded by dense, peaceful forest. It's not dangerous, it's not radioactive, and officially, it's not haunted. But for decades, visitors have reported something truly uncanny. When they look down at the still water, they see the reflections of people who simply aren't there. A man dressed in black, a woman holding a wicker basket, a child skipping rope. It's all appearing over their shoulder in the water. But when they spin around, there's nothing but empty air. The earliest official record of this phenomenon dates back to 1968. A local fisherman, sitting by the shore, glanced at his reflection and saw a little boy standing behind him. Startled, he whipped around, but the shore was deserted. When he cautiously looked back at the water, the reflection of the boy was still there, only now it was standing closer. Fast forward to the 1980s, a couple picnicking by the lake reported something even more bizarre. They looked into the water and saw their own reflections had been completely replaced by the images of two elderly figures, a man and a woman, staring back at them with hollow eyes. But the most famous case happened in 1999. A hiker was filming a video diary near the water's edge. It was only later, when he was reviewing the footage, that he noticed it. Reflected in the water behind him was a tall, shadowy figure. But here's the chilling part. The reflected figure turned its head and looked directly at the camera. A full second before the hiker himself moved. These stories aren't just isolated incidents. They're part of a pattern. The quiet dread that hangs over Hollow Creek Lake. Each report adds another piece to a puzzle that no one can quite solve. What are these figures? Where do they come from? What do they want? The hiker's footage from 1999 became a cornerstone for paranormal investigators, a piece of evidence that suggested these weren't just tricks of the light. It suggested something was actively watching, and that it wasn't bound by the normal laws of physics. In 2016, a paranormal research group, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, decided to camp at the lake for 48 hours. They set up cameras, audio recorders, and EMF meters, hoping to capture definitive proof of the mirror people. The first day and night were uneventful. The equipment registered nothing out of the ordinary, and the lake's surface remained a perfect, undisturbed mirror of the sky and trees. The team began to wonder if the legends were just that, legends. But on the second night, everything changed. Just after midnight, one of the researchers, monitoring a live feed of the lake, called everyone over. The surface of the water, which should have been black, was now filled with dozens of silhouettes. Men, women, children, all standing shoulder to shoulder, their forms dark against the faint moonlight on the water. And they were all facing the camper's tent, even though the physical lakeside behind them was completely empty. The team stood frozen, watching the silent assembly on the water's surface. But the most disturbing part was yet to come. As they watched, one of the silhouettes in the reflection slowly raised its arm, pointed directly at their tent. But before I show you what the researchers found on the lakebed the next morning, you need to hear what divers experienced when they went underwater. It's a part of the story that's rarely told, because most who experienced it refused to ever speak of it again. Over the years, several dive teams have attempted to map the bottom of Hollow Creek Lake. Their official reports are clinical, noting depths and sediment types. But their off-the-record confessions tell a different story. Divers consistently reported sudden, inexplicable temperature drops, the water turning ice-cold in pockets, even on the warmest days. Many claimed to hear the distinct sound of footsteps walking on the lakebed above them, on the ground where no one was standing. Even more unsettling, some divers heard their own names being spoken clear as day through the muffled silence of the water. There was no radio communication, no one else nearby. Just their name, whispered from an unseen source. They also described seeing large shadows pass over the surface from below, blocking out the sun, even at night when there was no sun to block. One diver's experience stands out. He was an experienced professional, a man who had dived in caves and shipwrecks without fear. But he resurfaced at Hollow Creek shaking, gasping for air. He swore he felt a hand press firmly against the small of his back, pushing him deeper. He spun around, but there was nothing. When he got back to the boat, his team confirmed it. Everyone had been on board the entire time. No one was in the water with him. After witnessing the silent army of reflections pointing at their tent, the research team from 2016 knew they had to investigate the lake bed. They brought in sonar equipment. What they found changed everything. Deep underwater, preserved in the cold, silt-covered bottom, were the remnants of an old settlement. The sonar mapped out roads, foundations of houses, and a town square. Most disturbingly, it detected dozens of thick wooden pillars submerged deep in the center of the lake. Historical archives confirmed it. A small, forgotten town named Silverwood had once stood where Hollow Creek Lake now is. The town was evacuated, and the valley was intentionally flooded in 1912 to create the reservoir. The official reason was industrial expansion, but the unofficial records, found in local historical societies, told a darker story. The town was evacuated in a hurry after a wave of mass hysteria. Residents had started reporting mirror people appearing in their windows and in polished surfaces, reflections of strangers who weren't there. A diary recovered years later from an attic belonging to the last surviving family to leave Silverwood contained a hurried, scribbled entry from their final night. It was just one sentence. "They are not our reflections. They speak from the surface." This brings us back to the 1999 hiker and his footage, the reflection that moved on its own. For years, people assumed it was just an anomaly, a glitch in the recording. But after the discovery of Silverwood in the diary, investigators looked at it again. They slowed the footage down, analyzing it frame by frame. The movement of the reflection wasn't random. It wasn't just turning its head, it was deliberate. It was trying to communicate. Experts in nonverbal communication and sign language were brought in. They enhanced the subtle motions of the reflection's head and the slight turn of its shoulder. It wasn't a glance. It was a signal, a specific gesture that had been overlooked for years. When they finally deciphered the movement, they realized the reflection was spelling out a single word in a forgotten regional form of sign language.
Ow.
The word was run. So now let me ask you, if you were standing by a lake and saw a reflection in the water that was on yours, what would you do? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoy exploring the unknown, make sure to follow for more.